This is your announcer, Shannon Saint Mainframe, welcoming you to our IP Livecast. On today's Patreon bonus episode, the Livecast crew is discussing The Matrix Resurrections. Little known fact about me, I was actually born in The Matrix. So this movie might literally ruin my childhood. Tread carefully, guys. Our IP Livecast starts now.
Were we mispronouncing it this whole time? Is it really The Matrix? Is
Well,
that like how people from The Matrix say
Yeah,
it?
she was born in it. She should know. Respect her culture, Rob.
Welcome, patrons, to the new year. It's 2022. And our IPL Livecast is here to rain down on you with some thoughts about the Matrix franchise of movies. And we thank you for tuning in. And I do want to say I'm very excited to talk about this. I have a lot of thoughts. It's Rob here with Sid.
Hello.
And Darren.
Hi.
But I feel like if you're a patron, you know that. You know who's here.
They might not know which one of us is which. Could be their first time seeing video.
Yeah. Or they're listening on audio and don't know who's here until we announce ourselves.
They can't look at the visuals because of our striking good looks. They have to turn away. It's too distracting from our content.
They have to keep pausing to fap a little bit more.
And then, when you're done fapping, usually you turn it off. So they don't have
fapping
time.
to napping.
They can't
go
remember
back to
who
the
we are.
podcast.
Let down. As good as we are.
Yeah.
From a comment.
So we're here to talk about The Matrix Resurrections, the new movie in the Matrix series. But before we talk about the new one, I figured we would give our thoughts about the first three movies.
Mm-hmm.
And the first one came out in 1999. Game changer in the world of cinema and in my life. It had a really big impact on me. I feel
Started wearing trench coats all the time.
Oh, absolutely.
He bent backwards to duck the food being thrown at him in the school cafeteria.
Those
Bullet
bullies
time.
didn't know what was coming.
Bully time.
Bully time. Nice. No, I must have watched. I think I got a DVD player specifically so I could watch that movie whenever I wanted. That's how much I was obsessed with this movie. This movie was my favorite movie growing up, and I say was because I recently rewatched it. And not to say it doesn't hold up, it absolutely holds up, and you have to put it in the context of this was like the first movie of its kind. But it is at this point very dated. Even the visual effects, which at the time like breakthrough, revolutionary look, because it was such a impactful movie, I feel like it's been, every scene in this movie has been parodied so much that it kills the gravitas that the movie had initially. Because, like, for example, when he pops out of the pod when he's awakened, like I just couldn't help but laugh. But I feel like at the time it was such a epic scene, but it's been played for laughs so much. Also, how like I feel it's very interesting watching it now. The exposition in the first act is really long. It takes a really long time. Like after they kick it off with some nice action to give you a little bit, then it takes a really long time until they get back to like fighting and everything, because they spend a really long time having to explain what the Matrix is, which, I mean, I understand at the time I had no idea what it was. So you have to like be introduced into this world, but watching it now, it's kind of like, get to it. Let's go.
It becomes tiresome because now, like the Matrix, not only do you know what the Matrix is from having seen the movie, it's been used as a metaphor for like life and capitalism and every shitty thing in the world for 25 years or whatever. So now you know so much you don't even want the movie to hit you over the head with it.
Yeah,
that's a great point. And that's another thing that kind of was striking about it, was seeing how much like politics has co-opted language from the movie. And this isn't the movie's fault, but like it would always like take me out of it just thinking of being red pilled and all this stuff and kind of just whatever. But still, with that said, the movie is so influential. To conclude my thoughts on the first one, the movie is so influential. Like, I feel it's the template for the entire Marvel Cinematic Universe, because it's the first movie that was just like story, story, story. Then like, forget about it. We're having essentially a dance break, but it's a fight scene, and it's overly choreographed. And some of these fight scenes were beautiful. I was actually taken aback by how violent this movie is. I didn't like, at the time as a kid, you're like, what? That's just a fun movie. There's so many guns to a comic effect. I'm not saying it's bad or anything, but I'm just saying I can see why those parental groups got really up in arms over it.
Up in arms. I see what you did there. It's very it's funny because that's like every fight in the movie has stakes. Like there's a you know, like the outcome of the fight. It's not, even though like you said, let's take a dance break, and it is that way in a way. But like each fight propels the story along, which is great. And also the reason people complained about it was because like people get shot and like really nothing happens, or like there's this wild fucking crazy fight scene and they walk away like unscathed. So they're afraid that the kid is gonna throw his baby brother off a building, you know. And
right.
They're not showing the consequences, but within the context of the movie, there's consequences. But you have to be an adult and like to understand what the consequences are.
Yeah, it's a very heavy concept for sure, and it gets even heavier, I feel, in the sequels. And that's a great point. And also, I think it's because it's one of the first mainstream action movies to kind of have like these kung fu fight scenes where you're right, like it's just accepted. It's like they're done, they're done fighting. It's not like they're not bruised up. But what did you guys think of the first one at the time, and possibly
I loved
now if
it.
you rewatched it?
I mean, you basically summed up everything that I have to say about the film. It's just the one thing I would say is that, you know, a lot of people say it's groundbreaking and revolutionized movie and all this stuff, but I question that. Like, did it revolutionize like movies? Because like all there was a bunch of fucking parodies. And like all the blockbusters, or 90% of them that came after that, are just ignore every good thing that The Matrix did, and just kind of have big dumb fight scenes and like bad CGI and copy each other. So I don't know that it was groundbreaking. I mean, in the sense that they were the first to do something, yes, but I don't think it like made movies better like, you know, other movies did. I think it just was kind of a one of a kind thing in a vacuum, and then, you know, most of the other movies ignored it.
I think it kind of like other movies had to step it up and be like, we have to have something
that's true,
innovative, or some sort of crazy camera shot to compete with this big, like it kind of made a popcorn film that no one could shit on. You know, who doesn't like The Matrix? Because it really does have something for every type of movie fan. So that's, I think, what's really groundbreaking about it. And that's, you're right, it didn't necessarily, like, it's not like there were 50 movies like The Matrix, but there were movies that kind of took elements of what was successful about The Matrix and incorporated into like how they wanted to deliver their thing. Like I'm saying, like with the Marvel movies, I think they totally, like, the format of it is very much like The Matrix. And while The Matrix didn't invent the format, you know, it's just kind of like
I know what you mean.
But it kind of laid the groundwork for all these other franchises. That was what I was saying.
I got you. That is a good point. One thing that where they differ from the Marvel movies, though, is that the Matrix uses, I mean, it's always talked about for the CGI and all that. They like perfectly blended practical effects and CGI. Like the CGI to me fits it, even though it looks a little bad now because it's 23 years later. But it's like,
it's mostly tasteful.
It's practical effects and then CGI as an accentuator, you know? So you see like buildings crumbling, and that's all done. You know, they just knocked the shit out of the building or whatever set they were using. But it's combined with CGI to create the unreal things that they can't do with practical effects. And all these other movies that come after, like Spider-Man, you see him flying around, looks like a fucking video game. It looks terrible.
Yeah.
So I like practical effects, and CGI is great. I'm not anti-CGI, but it has to be done to make things look, to do the things you can't do by blowing up a building.
Yeah, I completely agree with that the influence, like, people only took the CGI part of the groundbreaking and we're like, okay, yeah, we could just do movies that's all that. Like there wasn't the art behind it that this movie had, or like the actual like deep thought behind it. It was just like, oh, that one thing looked cool, so let's just do a movie that has that one thing over and over again. And there were a lot of those, but I never saw any of those other kinds of movies. So can't really comment on how great the influence was. I know they're out there, but I was just like, that looks like it's just CGI. I'm not interested in seeing that. And then I didn't see it. But the first Matrix I loved.
Sure. One of my favorite parodies of the Matrix is in a shitty movie. It's in one of those I don't know, one of the like epic movie or date movie or one of those fucking horrible movies. But there's a scene where they mimic the architect scene where Neo goes in, meets the old guy, and he basically explains the plot of the second movie in like 15 minutes. And they had George Carlin do that. He just starts talking.
Oh, I remember that. Yeah.
Like gibberish, like that guy, but with George Carlin jokes thrown in. It's fucking hilarious. Rest of the movie, I don't even remember which movie it is. That's how bad it is. But that's such a great scene.
So like I said, I think that pretty much sums up our thoughts on the first one, right? Unless there's anything else.
Sure.
So I went back, like I mentioned, and I watched all three in preparation. And I have to say, like, if you have the time, absolutely go back and watch the first three before you watch the new one. It makes some of the weirder parts of the third one, it kind of explains them a little bit.
The fourth one, you mean?
Oh, the fourth one. I'm sorry. Yeah. Well, the reason I say the third one is because I feel like the second and third movie are one movie. After rewatching it, it's one movie with an intermission break, essentially. And when the second one came out, I was so hyped on it. I was like, the cliffhanger had me for 6 months coming up with my own theories. It was like a proto Lost, like we've talked. And like, I'm like, oh, it could go this way, it could go this way.
And just like Lost.
And then
what you dreamed up in your head was better than what happened.
Yeah,
that was definitely my thought at the time. And also, I remember I saw the second one in the theaters, and then I watched it a bunch of times when it came out on DVD to prepare for the third one. And then I don't know what it was, but I guess I was a little disappointed. I remember I left the theater a little disappointed with the second one, even because it kind of left on such a cliffhanger. And I didn't even see the third one in the theater. I watched it when it came out on DVD, and I remember I was like so stoned, and I thought the train story was so silly at the time that it kind of like checked me out of the whole movie, and I just thought it sucked.
Remind me what that is, because I haven't seen the third one since I saw it in the theater.
You mean Mobile Avenue?
Yeah. So so at the end of the second one, he zaps the robots, the Sentinels, in the quote unquote real world, and you're like, what? And so he's passed out at the beginning of the third movie. Neo is passed out at the beginning of the third movie, and you see that he's in this sort of purgatory between worlds, and they have to save him by convincing the train conductor to bring him back to be awoken.
To the limbo. The limbo is a train station, and it's a subway station. It's called Mobile Avenue, which is like an anagram of limbo.
Oh, okay. There we go. So anyway, I have to say,
like the flash forward funeral home.
But it's also like Lost too, because if you try to leave the train station, you wind up coming back in from the other exit of the train station. And the only way to leave is when a train comes. Like you can't walk out of the train station.
You're essentially stuck in a computer program. So I rewatched the second and the third one, and I have to say, it completely changed my opinion on both movies. I now can say I like both movies. In fact, I love the second movie. I might even think I enjoyed it more than the first one.
Wow.
I agree with that.
Just because of what I was saying, where it took so long to get to the good stuff in the first one, whereas the second one is just like boom, you know who these are, you know what the goal is. And they also knew what worked about the first one. So like the cool factor is like 20 times, like the outfits look way cooler, the fight scenes are cooler, and the budget is much big. Like most of the effects in the second one hold up. There's only like moments where he has those fights with Agent Smith, where like 1,000 Agent Smiths come, and it just turns into Virtua Fighter. It just starts looking like a video game. But I agree with you, Darren. As I was watching it this time, I was like, you know what? This was an artistic choice that they made. That like this is such an absurd thing that we know we can't necessarily render them to look more realistic, but we want to do this like over the top fight scene, and this is how we accomplish it. So I was much more accepting of it this time, and the plot of this one kicks fucking ass. Like at no point am I bored.
They also the
love-
plot. They didn't assume that the audience is idiots either. In the second one,
Yes.
they don't sit. There's only one real exposition scene. That's when he goes and talks to the architect, and even the architect is like talking in such like arcane language that you don't even understand what the fuck he's really saying.
You really, yeah, like you have to like turn everything off and just like you almost have to just turn your head so it's just your ears focusing so you can try to comprehend what she's saying. And it all
it's a guy.
The architect. I'm sorry. I thought
the Oracle too.
I was saying the Oracle.
Oracle does talk like that too sometimes though.
Yeah. The scene with the Oracle was really big in the second one too, because it's like he already recognizes who he is. So now it's like, well, what's my purpose here? I guess there was some stuff like all the stuff in Zion is kind of a waste, but I think that's almost fan service just to like, look, like let's show them hanging out in the real world a little bit and how it's not all doom and gloom. And like, there was some victory now with Neo being the one. And the third one, going into it with the lower expectation, the third one is a really, really great conclusion to the second one. Like if it was together as one movie, I think it would be much more satisfying, because it's just like a 2-hour chase scene, but really, really good. Like it was really well done, and it almost reminded me of Star Wars with like Return of the Jedi, with like all the spaceship fighting, because that's kind of what it felt like. It was like all the chase scenes. Oh, and back to the second one, has the greatest car chase scene in cinema history. That scene is like 40 minutes. It is long.
They did like basically the best version of 3 or 4 different kinds of movie tropes in this movie. The best version of the villain explaining his plot to you. That was fucking, because it's different. Like they put the Matrix twist on it because he doesn't give a shit if Neo, like he's so arrogant that he knows that they can't do anything. So he's so confident it's impossible to defeat them. He just, rather than the guy fucking up his own plan by telling you the plot, this is like he just delights in fucking telling you the plot, because what the fuck are you gonna do anyway? I love that. The car chase scene, the saving the day scene is like the best possible version of that. You know, like it's like the Ewok planet. He's off, doing his thing, and they're on in the ground, like trying to hold
in
off.
The third one, the saving the day. Yes, yes. When he saves it at the very last minute, like the whole ensemble is like, oh, we're this is it. This is our last moment, and then just at that moment, he saves them. But what doesn't hold up in the third one, what definitely still removes a bunch of points, is when all the Sentinels get together and form a face. When he gets, but like
I thought it was a cool visual, but it doesn't really make sense, and it
doesn't. But like right up until that point, I was so on. Everything was so worth it, and it was such a struggle to get to that central part of the robot land. And I totally forgot this, but Neo gets blinded by Agent Smith in their real world fight scene.
He can still see using the Matrix though.
Yes, but he basically feels it. It's through his senses that and I really like that aspect of it. Both, they're just really good. If you were like me and dismissed them and thought you never need to see them again, they're really good. And also the Frenchman is one of the great like small characters, and I'm glad they brought him back in the new one. We'll talk about it.
I got some problems with it, but
because that guy is such a great actor. And the woman playing what's her name, Monica Bellucci, what is it?
That was it.
Yeah, I got it. She was great too. Like I love the little soap opera aspect. It's a nice little aside. Everything was there for a reason. Like
it's a good way to show that the computer programs are like sentient people. Like they can be arrogant, stupid, like self-confident, misplaced confidence, or good-hearted. The guy sends his daughter off to safety because the Agent Smith is coming to delete them. So, it shows that they're just other characters. Yeah. And that's brought back in this movie, which is one of the things I liked about it.
Yeah. It evolves in the new one. So yeah, I think ultimately by watching it now and seeing it again and like really, really paying attention, I feel like everything they did actually made not perfect sense, but made sense for the story that they were trying to tell. Nothing was really out of bounds. And so I left the second and third one with a more positive feeling, which in turn was like, okay, maybe this new one won't be so bad. Because I like going in, I was like, oh, it's probably going to be awful. Like I have to watch it, but it's going to be awful. But whereas now I'm like, well, it'll be fun to see how they evolve the story. That's kind of how I went in.
I went into it thinking that because Lana Wachowski directed it, that there was and co-wrote it, that there's a chance this is actually going to be good. And I kind of and I was wrong. This movie fucking sucks. I hate it. I hate almost everything about it. I am going to give my list of positive things because there were a few things that I liked.
Okay, well,
I'm so fucking relieved for you to say that, Darren, because I thought
Really?
I was going to be the minority voice and not liking it. Okay, thank God.
I got your back.
Okay,
on
well,
that.
well,
Well,
I
let's say
kinda-
97% because I like a few. I definitely
I'm not gonna
really,
say
really
I-
liked a few things in it. I really, really liked a few things
Yeah.
in it. The majority of it is garbage.
I'm not going to say I loved it, but I think I kind of knew how to temper my expectations.
You're the smart one. I'm an idiot.
So I ended up enjoying it for what it was, which like the way I kind of looked at it at the end was like, okay, this wasn't necessarily like a game changer like the first one or offering something interesting with the second and third ones. This was just a band that you really loved in high school getting back together, playing the hits, and being like, and here's a little bit of new material. And it's
Yeah,
like,
but the
okay,
problem is the band is Motley Crue and it's Vince Neil. He doesn't remember what the words are. That's
But
the problem.
that, and also it's like if the stage banter during this reunion concert is just the band talking about how shitty reunion concerts are, and then they're like, doesn't it suck when old bands get back together? All right, now here's another old song for you. Like, you can't have your cake and eat it too with that. Like,
That's
yes,
funny.
this movie was pain. Like I actually enjoyed the meta stuff. So here's the thing, though: the meta stuff was all the truth because the reason that Lana Wachowski decided to do this is they essentially came to her and were like, "Hey, we're going to make a new Matrix movie. Do you want to do it, or are we going to just assign somebody to do it?" And she was like, "Okay, well, I guess I'll do it." And so you could really tell that kind of mild resentment in the writing.
If you're taking the paycheck, then just actually do it. I don't need to hear you like trying to cover your cool cred ass like half the time. Like, I don't really think this is a good idea. I'm going to make fun of it, but I'm still going to do it and take the pay. Like, no, if you think it's a good idea, do it. If you don't walk away. Like,
well, I mean, I don't know. I think I like how they implemented into the story. So the story, well, the movie begins with a facsimile of the first scene in the original Matrix with Trinity.
Can
It's
I pause
almost
you
word
there
for word.
I'm
Yeah,
sorry. I just wanted to pause you there for a second. The movie begins with 40 minutes of redoing the first movie, beat by beat by beat by beat, except worse. That's
was
how
it 40 minutes?
It seemed like 40.
it was a
minutes.
while.
I didn't really look at the status.
Oh,
bar.
you mean just until Neo is awoken? Is that what
Once
you
he
mean?
gets sucked into the Matrix, then it kind of diverges into another movie. But
Okay.
they really just reshot the first movie.
Yeah,
with
so-
like a
well, that's the
55-year-old Keanu Reeves.
Yeah, like they were saying like, oh, you don't necessarily need to watch the first three to enjoy the new one. That is a lie.
Yeah.
I mean, you absolutely need to, because you will not. I mean, I guess you could get it, but you will not get what they're going for as well if you don't have, because this whole movie is a reference to the first movie, almost completely, kind of making it pointless. Like it's just a cash in. It's a total cash in. But yeah, so there's this new character, Bunny. One thing I did like is I love all, like, because this is in the future. and
Bugs.
it's-
Her name is Bugs.
Bugs. I'm sorry.
It's like, wait, there's a
no,
bunny?
her name is Bugs Bunny. Well,
Oh, her name is. She says,
phone-
"My name is Bugs, like the bunny." That's,
"Oh, like
Yeah.
the bunny." Okay.
As by the
right, and she
way,
has that
Warner
bunny
Brothers,
tattoo.
they had to throw
Yeah.
that shit in there too. It's like watching fucking Space Jam
Yeah,
2. They just
Oh,
reference
really
I
together.
totally had that thought as well. That it was it was essentially a more highbrow Space Jam.
Mhm.
I totally left the movie
Slightly.
feeling that it was like the same kind of idea of like, what is it? What like brands do we have, and how do we
Right.
how do we get the Warner machine to get the algorithm to spit out a new movie?
And by the way,
essentially?
wasn't the plot of Space Jam 2 basically the Matrix? Like they just go
Yeah.
into the fucking rogue computer program.
That's
Yeah.
true.
They have to go into it and like save all the Warner Brothers properties from dying.
So yeah, so I guess one thing I didn't understand is like her awakening was seeing Neo in this new world try to commit suicide or whatever and not being able to, but then they were saying that Neo is essentially stuck in a program, so she was also stuck in this program that Neo is. Anyway, that might be overthinking.
He created this is a bad plot, so I don't blame you for not getting it. But what I take from it is that he created this program to sort of like live out he wants it to be real, so he tried to create characters that would contact him in the real world, like subconsciously, I guess, because he was like testing his theory that he was insane. So like all those people just lived in it, and they found out a way to contact them, and then they finally do. So they're just characters in his program. But I don't understand, because she seemed like she had a life like before that, right? It wasn't like she just
right. Yeah.
So did he create her or did he not create her?
I don't think so. I think he created Morpheus, this new version of Morpheus.
So how is she in his program then?
Yeah, that I don't know. Well, she's not in. It's not. He didn't create that program. That program was created by the Neil Patrick Harris thing, as like to imprison him, so he isn't awakened.
No, that's right. But that's the entire. What he created was like a little subroutine. So like, how did she get into the inside of that matrix? Like that would that.
Did she get into that?
Yeah, isn't that how she's like seeing him? Like jump off the roof? I don't know. It's not explained very well.
No,
yeah. But I did like how they upgraded the Matrix. Since this is 60 years in the future, they're much better at like going in and out, so they don't have to use phones. Also, there's no landlines anymore, so that they can just go through mirrors or just jump off roofs.
By the way, that's a very telling. Like that was very distracting. Like the fact that the computers always happen to use the technology that exists at the time the movie came out. Like that they used, there were phone booths in 1999, so that's what you got to do, you know?
Right. Yeah. No. But and I like that also now the agents didn't like visually they could keep the likeness of the person that they're infecting. So I just like these tiny little upgrades to the world, which made sense. And Zion is gone, and now there's a new part of town, and Niobe's the one running the ship, and her makeup was fucking hilarious.
She looked like a Muppet.
Yeah, it really did. It really did. It's like, why
you look like Yoda, Queen Yoda.
It was, it was really weird. Like, just is there not an elderly African American actress they could have hired to like just?
There was also. Yeah, so backing up a little to the fake world that Neo is stuck in. I mean, I kind of liked it. I liked what they were kind of going for with the metaphor. And I loved the Agent Smith character, his boss, and how all the game developers are fucking annoying as hell. And they're all basically programs made to control Neo, essentially, to keep him blue-pilled. And I kind of like that whole idea that she was exploring, of just like the midlife crisis of just accepting your fate and not fighting it, but then also wondering what if, you know.
I don't know why Yahya Abdul-Mateen needed to be Morpheus. Like, why couldn't he just be another guy?
That didn't make a ton of sense to me.
I think they explained it that like Neo kind of wrote him combined Agent Smith and Morpheus into this new Morpheus.
Yeah, I understand how they did it in the movie world, but I mean in the script world, like why did that need to be Morpheus? Like why couldn't you just give a 5 minute? They showed the statue of Morpheus, like that's enough, you know. You explain what he did, and now
perhaps,
or just why couldn't Lawrence Fishburne play this new?
Well, I guess he was interviewed and he said it was on Lana Wachowski. He's like,
he wasn't asked.
I read that she didn't want him because she married a former sex worker, and he had those statements about his daughter being a sex worker that were negative. I don't know that that's true. That was what I read on different sites, and that they held a grudge
So, I mean, it's possible that you just kept the Morpheus character as a fuck you to Lawrence Fishburne. Then, like, we're just gonna recast this as with a better looking, younger version of you. Fuck off.
Yeah, that could be the other
Morpheus is the
thing. Maybe he's
coolest
just too
character in the
fat
movie.
now. You know, like.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
let
he
me
was
just
so
say
great in the first.
while
the
we're
first
on that,
trilogy.
I want to say, you know that Lawrence Fishburne's like fat and out of shape now. But even Keanu Reeves, I mean, whenever he's doing a fight scene, it's just like, dude, like this was the best take you had. It's so bad. And I love Keanu Reeves. Not dunking on him. He's a great actor. I love almost every movie he's ever done. But he's 55 years old. Like, this is not his best light. Like, he should not be doing stunt work and like.
But he's still doing John Wick movies, and people seem to love those.
It's not the same as The Matrix. The Matrix is over the top. Like, he can't. The John Wick is very close, tight shots of karate and all that shit. This is like jumping off of fucking like sides of walls and upside down. He can't fucking do it. It's so bad that they gave him one move. It's like they gave him just a video game fucking force push shit. Like,
yes,
that's all he kept doing over and over. Because he can't. I saw people complaining about him doing a Hadouken over and over, and I'm like, what do you expect him to do? He can't. He's 55 years old. Like, this is not like laziness. They wrote that in to cover up the fact that he can't do physical activity anymore.
Yeah.
I loved his love Hadoukens. You mentioned Trinity.
He's a fucking anime character. That's fine. That's fine. But he has to have a bigger arsenal. He can't just do fucking force balls all day long. Fucking tiger fireball.
It was funny how like with the Trinity, and her name is Tiffany and her husband is Chad. I felt that was a little on the nose.
Apparently that's that guy's actual name, right? Isn't he the director of the John Wick movies or something?
He's something like that.
Really?
Yeah, I just read that today.
Because I thought also, like you said, that it was like a internet meme culture Chad reference, but I guess not.
I think it's on the nose, but it fits the character because I'm not Chad's character, but the Neil Patrick Harris character would write that because he's like a super perfect caricature of an internet dickhead. Like he would make the hot guy. I don't know if the guy's hot, but I mean, like the object of it was to be like he's a Chad. You know what I mean? Yeah. No, I'm saying I think the casting wasn't that great for that guy too. Isn't he supposed to be like a perfect man kind of guy, and then he just looked like
his jaw was solid.
Yeah. It must have just been a favor to Keanu. He probably just wanted his buddy in the movie.
Yep, sure. Yeah, I agree with that. But maybe
one thing Keanu says, like, I'll do it, but I'm not gonna like cut my hair. Like he said, he wanted to keep his current look.
Why don't you let him be that fucking Dawson robot that they had in the future that was growing strawberries? Let him be that guy. It'll be the fucking Chad.
Fair.
So, any other thoughts about like the first act of the film?
What
were your initial thoughts?
Yeah, I like the meta stuff, but it went on way too fucking long. Like I like throwing those jokes around. But it's just such repetition, like literal repetition. They say the exact same lines like 7 times in a row. And I get it's supposed to be them programming Neo's head, and all that. But I don't need you to really repeat it 7 times in a row.
It went all the way to the after the credits. Did you guys see the post credits little scene? The little cat video joke? Like this is what we go to the post credits for like a deleted scene from the first part of the movie. Like this adds nothing.
That was
such a corny fucking joke. Oh my god.
And also the Matrix should not have fucking cat video jokes in it. It's the fucking Matrix. Like I get listen, and Rob, you said you rewatched the third one. I feel like at the point of the third one, the Wachowskis were getting tired of doing the Matrix, and they started throwing like little jokes. It's very much a lighter. It's still heavy, but compared to the other two, there's jokes. There's no jokes in the first two.
Yeah,
there's jokes in the third one, and I feel like it set the groundwork. And this one just fucking ratcheted the knob. This is like nonstop. It's a fucking Adam Sandler movie. This movie. It's ridiculous how many fucking jokes there are in this movie. It's constant. I don't mind you throwing them in as a fucking accent, but every 10 seconds, one of these side characters is like, "Oh, it's a case of the Mondays." It's just something ridiculous like, that does not belong in the Matrix at all. The tone is just completely fucking wrong. Even fucking Keanu Reeves has one-liners in this movie, like he's Arnold Schwarzenegger. I still know kung fu. Like your fucking fan service shit. Fuck you. Fuck you, movie.
And I don't
That's
think
not
the
what the Matrix
fans
is.
want that kind of service. Like
No.
I don't know who that's for, other than like they were just bored writing it and did it to amuse themselves. And
Yeah.
Well, they
but,
kind
like,
of just copied and pasted the first script, and then we're like, all right, we need to change a few things.
I also think it's the studio because they watch these fucking Marvel movies and Warner Bros. Desperately wants to have a Marvel movie with their stupid DC shit. So they're like,
yeah.
they just look at it and they just go like, "Oh, we gotta have a guys in the Zion saying, oh yeah, we're all gonna die." Like fuck you, fuck you. Don't
Is
insult
there
my
going to be
intelligence.
more of these, or is this like a one-off?
Well, you saw
Do
the
we know?
ending. They fly off like they're fucking
That's
the
right.
Fantastic Four. I'm sure they're gonna do 7 more of these fucking movies.
Ugh.
That was the worst. That would ending just betrayed. Like of all the, I told you, there's a few things I picked out that were like.
Well, before we go to the end, let's
I have
save
thoughts
that.
on the ending too.
Yeah. But okay, so then now Neo's awake, and then then so when he wakes up, he sees the Trinity is alive too, and you get what?
How convenient that they were just stored right across from each other that whole time. So convenient.
Well, he
for him.
said they actually.
Well, they
explained
explain it. They explain it. It's because
he needs
the
to be somewhat close to her for the power to take effect, but not
right.
on-
Their love is what's powering this new Matrix.
It's a fucking idiotic explanation, but they did say it.
Yeah, that's
yeah.
like,
so
could
then
I just ask the question, like, how in the over the first 3 movies, how invested were the two of you in the Neo Trinity love story? Like,
I think
how
it-
important to you guys was that?
I think it's they did the same thing they did in this movie, but much. Well, I shouldn't even say much more. They did a great job of doing it, of explaining why it's important. Like they feed off each other, they make each other better, and I think it was. I thought it was really touching. I think it's like emotional. I enjoyed it. I think it's a big part of the movies, and it's completely thrown in the fucking dumpster and lit on fire in this movie.
Yeah, this one,
No,
I
thought
don't
it was.
care.
I don't agree. No, I thought it was a big part of the first movies, and I liked it here. I wasn't like crazy about it, but I was on board.
Well, I liked everything I liked about it here is just me remembering how they did it in the first 3 movies. And when you see it, the more it plays out, the more I'm like, what are they doing to these poor 2 people? This is just embarrassing. I just
the
hated
first
it.
fight scene is with the Frenchman is back, and it got a pop from me.
Yes,
that they included him.
That was great. That was one of the things I love about this movie, and his rant. How he's a fucking boomer now. The Boomerovingian.
Yes, and that guy is such a great actor. Like his line delivery is so fucking good. I was loving it.
I thought he should have had his own scene though. It doesn't need to be during a fucking fight scene, like distracting me from that. I'd rather watch both of those things and enjoy both of them.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, I would agree. And then the fight scene was all right, and then they have to try to go find Trinity, and then I guess the Neil Patrick, then the Neil Patrick Harris character intercepts Neo, and that's kind of a cool scene. But then you guys kind of brought it up already. Like it starts getting meta again. It's like, okay, we get it. Let's go. Let's move it along.
Yeah.
When he which scene are you talking about when he says he intercepts Neo?
So this is when he goes to Trinity's garage and
he pauses time. That scene, that was
the bullet time scene.
That was one of the worst movie scenes I've ever seen in my adult life. That was so fucking bad. Did you see the effects on that?
Yeah,
it looked like a rejected scene from Xena. It looked like a Saturday afternoon syndication.
Yeah, I didn't like it.
I kept telling myself, like, it must look like that that had to have been a creative choice. I don't know why, but it looks horrible, but it must be for a reason. But I have no idea what the reason was.
I thought I was out of RAM. I thought my like browser was fucking breaking or something. It was terrible.
Yeah,
Also, I want to point out, like during this kind of point of the movie is when you really see the Warner Brothers studio influence, because there was like a shot back in the real world of the dispatcher kind of giving a pound to one of the robots, because we learned that there's like good robots now and they work on the ships. and it's like a fucking Jar Jar Binks character. At least I will say I did like how they kind of explained that robots can be awakened.
Yes,
too.
That was a good concept.
Yes, and how the robots exist in the real world as these kind of like Spencer's gift toys that you just kind of put your hand through and it comes in the other end. I did like that. I like that as a concept, as one of the upgrades of the Matrix in modern
Very much
time.
so. I agree. On the short list of things I loved about this movie.
Let me just ask a quick not sequitur question about something I noticed in the movie. And maybe there's like a backstory reason for this that I just forgot because I haven't rewatched the first three recently. But there's like one of the big fight scenes is like out in the streets. And like all the storefronts are like made up restaurants. Like the cafe that they go to is called
Simulate.
Like, Simulate. But then there was a shot of a Lens Crafters. And
product placement.
Why, of all things?
That's
like,
really
why
interesting.
was
Yeah,
there a
there
Lens
was-
Crafters?
That had to, maybe they paid. I don't know.
Well, yeah, Lens Crafters paid Doogie Howser when he was crafting the Matrix to put that.
Because there was a lot of
They still have
a lot
Lens
of
Crafters in 2264 AD.
Yeah.
well, there's all these unique shades in this movie. So
Yeah. I guess someone's got to make all those cool sunglasses. That took me out of it because it was like the only visible storefront in this one shot was just a fucking Lens Crafters for like a couple of seconds, and I was just like, huh, does Warner Brothers somehow own Lens Crafters now? Like, why is this here?
Lens Crafters is working on an AI that you wear on your face, and it talks to you in beep boop boop beeps like that fucking bird that flies in. That's R2D2 now.
And then
Beep, boop, 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 beep, boop, beep. Oh, what? They're in trouble? Oh my god! We go, boop, 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 beep, 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 beep. Oh
well,
my god!
that is actually how they do it. That is how they do it. There are. I did like at least that the robots didn't talk in this one. They learned their lesson with the third one.
But the robot, why can't the robots talk? Why can't they just fucking play an MP3? Why do they gotta go beep boop boop bop bop? What the fuck is that? You know they can. We've seen them do it, and also
They can do it.
you don't have to have seen them do it. You can just reason with your mind that they can play sound and mimic sound. They have fucking walking programs that live in our world that walk around with guns, and they're called Agent Smith, and they fucking talk to you and do soliloquies. But the bird has to fly in and go boop boop bop boop 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 and talk to Jada Pinkett Smith in boop language, and she understands. What the fuck am I watching? What am I watching? It makes no fucking sense.
Yeah, this movie. Yeah, they could have asked these questions very easily.
Christ, I'm fucking way too angry about this movie. It sucks so much. I hate you for making me watch this fucking movie. This is like the worst movie. This is worse than Phantom of the Park. This movie.
No,
The worst thing we've done. This is the worst movie we've done because it's graded on a curve. It's the fucking Matrix. Phantom of the Park was Gene Simmons, wanted to impress some fucking chick that he wanted to fuck. That lived in like movies a lot. This is like a real movie franchise that they made into a fucking comic strip.
Yeah, there was a lot of money spent on this. And so if you grade on that scale, then yeah.
That's fair. That's
the
a
worst
fair
movie we've watched
argument.
on our Patreon by far. It's worse than Space Jam.
Well, we could say the biggest waste of money we've watched. Although I'm sure it's a profitable entity for them.
No doubt about it. People will just 10 trillion people will watch this just because it says Matrix.
Yeah,
they won't watch Matrix 5. I guarantee you that.
I'll watch
but
it.
They'll watch Matrix 4. Yeah, but I mean, in the same numbers, they won't watch it.
Yeah,
I'll watch it because we're gonna watch it on this fucking Patreon.
Yeah, exactly right.
Well, okay, so he's in Simulate. He talks to Trinity. He's trying to be like, bitch, wake up. Trinity, we need you. I need your love.
Trinity, I love you, Trinity.
And then she's like, oh, I had this dream where we're riding on a bike.
Motorcycle.
Yeah, blah, blah, blah. So then
I had a dream I was on a motorcycle, the thing I do every day to go to and from work and then work on motorcycle.
But also that he was on the back of the motorcycle.
That's the difference.
They were the agents. So then Chad and his children come and like, Mom. And then when Chad grabs her by the arm and does something misogynist, Trinity is awoken. And
my
she's
God.
like,
Girl
"Get
power."
your hands off me,"
This is so
which
bad.
was hilarious.
This is like, so, well, you know what was so good about Trinity in the first 3 movies is that she's like such a well-rounded character. She's not like a fucking girl boss. She's not, you know
One
what
of the
I mean?
best written
She's just a kick-ass
characters
person
of all
you know?
time.
Yeah.
Yes, so great. And the actress Carrie Ann Moss or Fisher, Carrie Ann Moss Fisher, whatever her name is.
Yeah,
She's
Trinity.
she's like the perfect person to play that role, and like nails it, and has such a strength to her character.
And she didn't need to have her feminism accentuated by dialogue. Like she'll kick your ass.
We got it.
Yeah,
and she's also got, you know, maternal, like she has to, like she cares for for Neo, and then like she scolds him when he, in the 3rd movie, there's a whole scene where, you know, he wants to go and be like, "You're not coming with me, you know, stay here." And she's like, "The fuck you." Like she knows when to be tough, and she knows when to be loving, and she knows when to beat the shit out of you. Like she's just a perfect movie hero. And now they rendered her into a fucking Powerpuff Girl. It's fucking like it's just the worst.
Well, I guess the
worst
idea is that
betrayal.
the program made her this Powerpuff Girl. Or do you mean?
I'm
after
sorry,
she's
no,
awakened?
Rob, I wasn't clear. I mean, like when she wakes up to become
Yeah.
Trinity, she's
Oh,
still a
okay.
Powerpuff Girl.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't know.
It was very
but
forced. The
I
whole
will
thing.
say, like, once she wakes up, I was so excited. I'm like, all right, let's go. Now we're off to the races. Trinity is awake. Like, let's see this power couple.
And we get
then the movie ends, like, 10 minutes
19,001
later.
force pushes. That's what happens on a motorcycle. Just Hadoukens the whole fucking last.
Well,
15
you know what?
minutes.
I will say though, I did like the idea that that Trinity is the one driving the motorcycle and Neo's on the back, as opposed to the other way around. I like that visual,
That was
and
cool.
I like that I wasn't too like I liked what they're trying to do with this love story, but I kind of didn't. I kind of felt it was a betrayal to the movie where they kind of retconned it that they're both the one, essentially. That like
They're the two.
Neo,
yeah.
like Neo can't be the one without Trinity.
Which is bullshit because he was the one, like in the first movie when she barely was even in the movie yet. Like they weren't in love yet. And he became the one. Like they blossomed over time. Like I could understand if she enhanced his powers or whatever.
Well,
love
but
or whatever,
to your point, this is a new iteration of the Matrix, though. So when the Neil Patrick Harris character wrote this new Matrix, he might have required more of her energy for it. If we're using the lore of the, but
it's a reach, but I'm allow it.
So I will say, like, it got to the end of the movie really quickly, though. Like from the Trinity Awakening, there was maybe only like 20 minutes left. It's very lopsided.
Took a while to get there.
Oh yeah.
It took a while to get there. I liked so then they're all cornered. Trinity and Neo are cornered. Like, what? Oh no! Like they're done for. Where who comes to save the day? But the new Agent Smith, which it's like, where is Hugo Weaving? One of the best fucking actors.
IMDb says that he had scheduling conflicts with some of his like Broadway work or whatever.
Put the movie. 2 options there. Put the movie off for 6 months.
That's how much this movie is rushed. They're like, fuck it. One of the best.
That's also how little he gave a shit about being in it. That he's like, nah, I've got this West End London production of whatever the fuck that I'm doing. I'm gonna stick with that. I'm good.
Oh, Calcutta. Yeah, because he saw I don't know. I made that up. But he saw the fucking script. That's why.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. You're totally
right.
But
but okay, you can't get Hugo Weaving. Did you have to get any fucking Party of 5 extra? The guy, who the fuck that was?
That guy's actually good in Mindhunter, I will say. Jonathan
I'm not
Groff.
saying he's a bad actor. I'm saying that type does not belong being Agent Smith.
Yeah.
He's just like a fucking punchable face guy. Like he's just like an ironic snark twat. Like he's.
You know what it was? In my mind, what I said was that the Neil Patrick Harris character just wanted a nice twink to look at in his new Matrix. So that's why he wrote him to look like that. It's just eye candy for NPH.
You're saying the analyst is also gay as well as the actor? Oh, okay.
Sure.
There was subtext then.
It makes more sense that way in my imagining of it.
Honestly, jokes aside, I think you could say that Neil Patrick Harris's character wrote him in to be like himself because they're the same fucking character.
More or less, yeah.
This is like a little pickle for you, buddy. You know, like that fucking like snark villain, which I hate in movies. Even though Neil Patrick Harris is great, and I think he did a great job with what he was given to work with here. I think he kills it, but I just don't like. I don't like what they were trying to do. It's not trying to do. It's not his fault. But I don't like it. I don't like it. I think
that's a fair criticism.
Bad way to go with it.
I feel like it wasn't a strong villain. Like the villain character could have been much stronger.
Honestly, he did such a good job that I didn't know it was him for like 2 minutes when he's like still in the facade of the doctor. I was like, is that Neil Patrick? It looks like him. He's not behaving in a Neil Patrick Harris way. And then it took me like until he starts being menacing was when I was 100% sure that it was him. I did a media blackout of this shit, like completely.
Yeah,
I didn't know who was in it except the regulars, you know.
Could I say it was also nice to see Christina Ricci in that one scene? She's having a little bit of a rebirth this year. Good for her. Good for Christina Ricci.
Also, I thought there was way too many flashbacks to the first.
Oh my God.
Movie. Like, and especially when they first wake Neo up and they go to the same fucking auditorium where the scene with Morpheus was in the first one, and then the old movie is just playing. It was just too much. It was too in general. I really hate when sequels or like, you know, follow-up movies have clips from previous movies in them. I think that's like a total cheat, unless it's like a thought. Like there's only certain ways you can get away with doing it, and I don't think that they got away with it here.
Fully agree.
I have a question though. When they're playing that like footage of the first movie, and he goes, "This is from your game." Like, first of all, they have to explain that because it's the only way he would be showing that on the screen. Yeah. But like, does his game look like that? Like a fucking straight up movie? Is that like
the graphics? No wonder it's the most popular video game in that world.
But everything we ever see from his game is fucking cutscenes then. Because
the idea is just that it's his memories. The game there isn't an actual game. It's just his memories are like the game is representative of his memories.
But what are they showing? How are they accessing his memories?
His memories.
But how? How can they get his memories?
Because he's plugged into the Matrix.
They can suck your memories out through that fucking cable? I didn't
apparently.
know that. Apparently. No one told me that. Okay, fine. But they say it's his game. They don't say it's his memories. They say this is your game, even though he made the fucking game and he should know that it's his game.
But the game is like a metaphor for his memories.
I don't know. I think they're literally showing the game.
There's no actual.
Wait,
game.
Are we talking about Triple H now? I'm confused. Is that also Warner Brothers property?
And listen, you got to remind me anytime we get too far afield into explaining what this fucking pile of crap movie is trying to say.
Yeah, we're asking more questions than Lana Wachowski did probably. Like,
yeah, she's just like, I get paid on the 1st and 15th still? Okay, cool.
Great paycheck. But I retract that because she did do some things with this movie that I don't think were required by the studio that are in the fucking stupid as shit.
That's what I try to like remind myself about too. It's like, well, there were some nice new moments, like new upgrades and all that.
No, I'm saying she put in some bad things. Sucked.
I see. Like what? Like what
like trying to reclaim the Matrix from online MAGA twats, like in that whole scene where they're planning the video game out, like our game has been used as a metaphor for right wing blah blah blah. And we got to reclaim it for they didn't say reclaim, but like they're trying to show how stupid the people are that do that. And that's just not necessary. Like I don't care about that. I'm not even disagreeing with that, but like why is that in the fucking movie?
Yeah.
Like, just do it. Don't say you're doing it.
And what confused me, so like they had that whole setup, and then when the red pill blue pill scene happened, I was totally expecting for some other kind of joke or reference to red pilling during that, and then there was nothing.
No.
I was like, well, like, what is this movie? Are you fully like meta or you're not? Like,
no,
pick a fucking side.
There's just like little puddles of meta that are like disconnected and you got to leap from one to the other and then they're not mentioned again.
It's like she wrote a 2-hour movie and the studio's like, no, it's got to be 2 hours, 25. It's like, okay, so I'll write 25 minutes of snarky jokes.
I would rather they just did a full-on like Brady Bunch movie version of the Matrix where it's all in that world. It's all in that world, and maybe like a little jump into the Matrix world rather than what they did.
I
which
agree.
was like a inconsequential meta scene, and that lasts 40 fucking minutes, and then nothing else.
Yeah, except for the post credits.
Yeah, give me the whole simulate. That's the whole movie. I think that would. I'm not even joking. I'm not even joking. I think that would have been a good movie to do, and fucked with everybody's head. Would have divided everybody, made everybody angry, and also love it. Like it would have been fucking cultural phenomenon. Now it's just like another fucking. Oh, they redid the Matrix again. Fuck you.
It was just half-ass on both things instead of full-ass on one of them.
Perfect way to put it.
So.
And then the ending. So the ending is that, they both have to jump, and they just, have to believe in the Matrix, and that's how they survive. Yeah. And Leo doesn't. I mean, not Leo. Neo. Leo. Different
they should have got Leo.
Don't look up.
He could still move around. He's only 45.
Neo doesn't look like he's gonna make it. But then all of a sudden, Trinity believes, because of course women believe harder.
Yes, girl power made her fly,
and she's flying, and so then she's flying and holding on to Neo, and then they fly off, akin to the ending of the first movie, but the woman is the one that has the power, and they accentuate this by playing a cover of the song that they played at the end of the first movie, which is Rage Against the Machine's "Wake Up," covered by Brass Against.
This is the only thing I will remember about this movie. I remember nothing about the ending other than that.
It really puts into context why they were so quick to apologize about the. If you're watching this as a time capsule many years into the future, the biggest story of the year, traffic wise, for Metal Injection, easily. Vince Neil couldn't even come close to this, was the story that the singer of Brass Against at a summer festival invited a volunteer up on stage. She didn't force anybody, invited a volunteer on stage, said she had to piss, and just the waterfalls were running out of her cooch, and pissed on this guy on stage, and then he bathed in it and got off stage, and then the next day they were like, this isn't who we are as a band, but not immediately no, she also retracted it. She
retracted the urine. That's a superpower that Neo doesn't even have.
And she did that, she should be uncanceled.
And when the initial urine dropped, when the initial video dropped, everyone was like, oh, this is a Gigi Allen moment, this is so rock and roll. And then when they apologized, they were like, oh, Rock is dead, this is such a pussy, why are you apologizing, blah blah blah. But now I know why they're apologizing, because fucking Warner Brothers were like, what the fuck are you guys doing? This is your big we're gonna cut you out of this fucking movie, you're gonna lose out on all this money, you better apologize. And that's probably why they did it. And it really made me realize that it is not a good cover. It weakens the we've talked about covers so many times on the live cast. You either have to provide your own kind of spin on it or make it better.
I'm sorry, Rob, I thought you were done.
And while it did the former, it did not achieve the latter.
I'm gonna make Sid hate this more. I'll tell you a little anecdote. I was watching this movie on my computer with headphones, and it got to about 30 minutes into the movie. As soon as they go into the Matrix, all these characters mumble so fucking much, and it's such technical jargon that I had to turn the captions on. Mm-hmm. Okay, so I left the captions on for the whole movie. I get to the end of the movie, they start playing Brass Against. And the captions, what do the captions say? Punk rock music plays.
Oh my God.
I wanted to know what Sid thought of that.
For shame. I will say I did also consider, about probably at the same point that you did, I considered turning the captions on. And then I was like, I don't care enough to read about fucking whatever jargon they've it doesn't matter. If I see the word spelled out, it's not going to make me understand what the fuck they're talking about. Whatever.
I have to know. I'm sorry. I'm like a completionist. I have to know what's being said, even in a fucking shitty, horrible movie. I have to know.
Do we think, Rob, you say that Warner Brothers made them apologize for the peeing? Do we actually think maybe? I don't have any... I know you're speculating. I understand.
Yeah.
Do we think maybe Lana specifically picked that song She's like, this is a band who pisses on their fans,
Mm.
and that's what this movie is going to do to fans of the Matrix.
So it's
a
a good
perfect
microcosm
sync.
of the movie, making the same thing but shittier.
Yeah. Or soaked in urine.
So also, like, Rob, you left out the number one part where they turn Trinity into a Powerpuff Girl, which is where they're gonna fall. She saves the day. They fly off, and what is the first thing they do? They go to Neil Patrick Harris's house to punch him for being sexist.
Oh, I
that's
totally
right.
forgot. I totally,
Yeah.
Three
you're right.
times she has to hit him because he says a sexist thing. She hits him. He does it again. She has to hit him again. I'm like surprised she didn't like kick his Matrix dick off. Like I thought it was gonna be like the Ghostbusters movie where she like basically rips the Ghostbusters symbol's penis off.
Cut your dick off, Matrix. Cut your dick off.
Yeah, I did not understand that, and I was like, "Is this movie over yet, or what's going on?"
They only went back there to like dunk on him for being a sexist jerk. That was the whole point of that scene.
Unnecessary.
He even says, "So what do you want?" Like a villain, what do you
Yeah.
want? And they go, "Nothing. We just wanted to punch you some more." That's it.
That could have been the post credits, but they did that
Yeah.
before the credits, and then
You're totally right. That should have been post credits.
I think that thing with the Catrix could have been like a montage during the credits rolling, how they do sometimes.
Yeah.
Even that, I don't want that in the fucking Matrix. I don't
Yeah,
want the fucking
sure.
sexism statement.
Also, it doesn't make sense. Why are they only exist? It's like the Truman Show. They're only there to serve Neo. So if he's gone, why is that program still running? That program would be unnecessary. You know what I mean? Like,
He can't fly anymore. He's not God anymore. He lost his status.
no, but I'm saying, so that Catrix scene, Neo isn't
right.
in that scene.
Oh,
right?
yeah, right.
All of those people in that scene are all programs created to control Neo. Their only purpose is to serve as NPCs for Neo.
Right.
So how in this world that they've created is this scene possible? Like, the only thing happening in the world that Neo is in is what is happening when Neo is present.
Right.
Like when he leaves a room, that whatever's going on in that room ceases to happen because it's only there to serve Neo's imagination. You know what I mean? Like,
yes. Their subroutines all continue just in case he walks in the room. Oh, I forgot my pencil. Hold on.
Yeah.
Let's start talking again
You're
now.
just burning through processor speed.
Give me that memo. I need that on my desk by 4.
So overall, on a scale of 1 to 10, I've been thinking about this. I would rate this movie at like a 5.5, a 6
out of 1,000. God damn. We didn't even cover half of this shit. I got a whole
like,
list
what
here.
else? What else? Oh, go ahead.
That scene where they're planning how to get Trinity out of the bathtub. It's like Ocean's 11. Like they just have the all right, you're gonna go around, sneak around the back, and then they show it happening. That was such a fucking cliche.
That didn't make any sense. Like, why did they have to plug Bugs's head into Trinity's like iPod charger? Like that they completely they're like, this is a big part of the plot, and then they just whatever. Also, yeah, we didn't talk about the character of the little girl from the train station, how she comes back and like.
And by the way, I needed that flashback. That was one of the ones I needed because I had no idea who the fuck she was if they didn't show her as a little girl. I will say that the movie needed the flashback on that one for me.
Yeah, I agree with you. Even having just saw the third one, I was like, who the oh, it's this girl.
Because she's grown up.
Yeah.
But
what else?
But going beyond that, when they're saving her from the bathtub, like why did they need to even save either of them? Why did they go and take Neo out? Like they just found him. But what is like usually in a movie when you see it, like they have an unsolvable problem and they have to go through this thing to save the one person, like Hannibal Lecter, or they I don't know, Suicide Squad. There's a reason why they want to break all these people out of jail and they're going to help them. What is Neo like? What are they thinking Neo? Like it turns out in the movie he winds up helping them, but they don't know that's going to happen. They don't even know who the doctor is. Like they just save him because he's like George Washington to them and they just want to hang out with him. Like
it seems like that's a lot of it. They just want to meet him.
It's the dumbest thing, but then they meet him and like half of them don't like him and they're like kind of like it takes them a while to like warm up to him and is this really you? And they're not even like overly nice to him. Like what is the point of waking him out of the fucking goo battery shit?
Yeah.
Doesn't
they
make
needed
sense
to make
to
another
me.
movie.
And then it takes like and then all he does is fuck everything up. Like they're all living in peace with
also,
strawberries and shit. And then they're like,
yes.
it takes their whole army to free his one fucking girlfriend. Like, fuck you. Like, why?
That's why
like,
when
no.
Jada Pinkett is basically like, why are we going to risk all these lives just for your fucking girlfriend? What is the
She's
point
right.
of this? I'm like, yeah, she's right. Like, why?
That should have been the end of the movie. Just dump him over the fucking side of the fucking balcony. That's it.
Also, they were like, Neo, you're not going anywhere. That would be a risk. And then, like, the very next scene, he's got like there was no resistance. Like, why even have this?
I remember when that happened. I was like, did I miss something? Did I like black out for a second and miss like a Prison Breakers? Like, what happened? How is he already out?
They even call it out in the movie. Like they go like, you just 1 minute ago said that you, and she's like, well, I knew they would go and take him out of the fucking ship. So then why didn't you put a guard there, you dumb fuck? Like, why'd you let them leave if you think it's so important? I knew he would do it. So don't imprison him then. Just let him go. Stupid asshole.
Any other notes, Darren?
Yeah, I thought the fight scenes are really disappointing. All of them, like not just all the fight scenes, all the action scenes are really bad. Like there's only the one in the warehouse is like somewhat good. None of it is innovative. I know it's hard to kind of live up to the Matrix one, but each film had like something new. You know, the car chase you mentioned, and the third one had some interesting stuff with the drones and all that, and like. This one just doesn't.
Third one had great chase scenes. I felt.
Yeah,
in space, like space chase.
They all had something new and something that innovated. The first one more than the others, but still, there was always something. This is all regression. There was a horrible thing with fucking Neil Patrick Harris looking like he's in the middle of someone fucking remote control freeze framing a television.
Yeah, and that scene just never ended.
Yeah, but all the fucking action scenes are terrible. There's no stakes. Like nobody ever gets killed. Nobody ever gets hurt. All they do is shake on the fucking Matrix table for like 3 seconds. Nobody ever gets hurt. Nobody gets shot. All these fucking agents miss them from like 1 millimeter away from the point blank range. The one thing that was cool was the zombies like kind of dive bombing them. I think
that was an interesting little.
I wish I wish one of them would have landed on one of these fucking characters that I don't care about. That's fucking one of these side
that
ass.
was such a cool, like another one of those cool upgrades that we were talking about. That like I really liked that.
I liked it, but what they do with it? No one dies. It's not a threat. They just calmly avoid it on the fucking motorcycle, and that's it.
As we talk about this, it just feels like this movie was very, very rushed. It seems like a lot of this stuff is like afterthoughts almost.
Mm-hmm. Especially, by the way, every time they said IO, I heard the IO digital cable song.
Yes.
It's stuck in my fucking head.
When were they saying IO? What was
That's the name of the new Zion. They just took the Z and the N off, I guess. I don't know. It's fucking IO. IO digital cable. Yeah. The fight scenes are just brutal. Just fucking brutal.
Not in a good way.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Terrible. Boring. Like no impact. No stakes. Everyone gets away. No one gets shot. Nobody gets hurt. It's like they went the opposite of the criticism of the Matrix. They were like, or they tried to like how the criticism was there's all this violence, but nobody ever gets hurt. Well, some people got hurt in the Matrix. Yeah. Some of them died. You know what I mean? To show you that there are stakes to this, and then there's these climactic scenes, and Neo's so strong that he gets away or he beats the shit out of people. But there's no stakes in this fucking movie. And of course, on top of all that, Keanu Reeves looks like he's 72 years old doing these fights.
Still handsome, though.
So bad, though. Yo, he looks great. He looks great for a 55-year-old.
Yeah.
He looks 30, but he can't.
Great for a 45-year-old, yeah.
He moves around. He moves around slowly. He's getting up there. It's not his fault. He's in great shape. I'm sure he's in better shape than me, 10 years older than me. But it's a fucking state-of-the-art, supposedly action movie. He's not cut out for it. Let someone else handle the action scenes. So you got all these young kids. You got these fucking 25-year-old cast of characters here. Use them.
Let Bugs do some backflips.
Yes, sure. Why not? What's so bad about that?
People there, yeah.
And make a joke out of that. Fucking Keanu Reeves is in the silence. Man, I can't do that anymore. You know, some shit like that.
Yeah.
Be fucking pro. Or have him try it and fail, and then it's okay that he looks like shit because it's in the story.
Yeah.
Terrible.
Maybe that'll be in part 5.
Yeah, they're gonna keep making like Rocky Balboa.
Do you think it's possible
being 8 years old?
the reason they made Trinity like the lead by the end of this is because they're like, we don't know if Keanu's coming back, so let's make a new lead. Carrie Ann Moss doesn't have anybody else knocking on her door, so she'll be ready for part 5.
Sure.
So let's just let her be it.
Girl boss.
But other than that, we loved it.
Oh, I didn't.
Sid, any other thoughts?
I mean, yeah, I'm glad I didn't go back and watch the first 3 because I guess I would have liked them more than this. So at least in that, but just to have spent 6 hours building up to these disappointing 2.5 hours would have felt frustrating. Maybe I would have liked this even less. Maybe it would have been like Darren, where I was reminded of how good the first 3 were. And it made this one look even worse. But I tried to go in just like, all right, this is a standalone movie and I want to be entertained. It's got to be good, whether I have the mythology fresh in my mind or not. Like, it should still just be a good movie on its own. And it wasn't. It was just boring.
1 star.
Yeah.
What would you rate this, Sid?
I guess like 4 out of 10. I guess 3.5. Because I mean, like the actors were all good. They did what they had to for the most part. They delivered their lines the way they were supposed to. It wasn't, shot on a camcorder. So yeah, I don't know. But yeah, it was not good. I was mostly very bored.
1.5 out of 10. That bad.
I can't begrudge you.
That bad.
All right. Well, I mean, that's our rankings.
I did enjoy discussing it with you.
Yes.
That was a 9 out of 10. I laughed my ass off.
That always redeems these movies, that I know we can get some kind of fun out of it.
Yeah, I'm glad finally there's a movie where I had an overall positive opinion of it. And I think it's really just, you're probably right. If I just went into this just watching this without investing the time of watching the previous ones, which by the way, I split it over a few days. I didn't do it all in one sitting.
Thank God. Well, Rob, you're the most forgiving person. I think that's an admirable trait. In most cases, I can't get on board with it in this case.
I don't think any of your criticisms are unreasonable. I think they're kind of like, I agree with virtually all of them.
Virtually? I see what you did there.
Yeah, I'm such a mark for the Matrix that I'm willing to look past the flaws and just kind of be like, well, it was cool to just revisit these characters a few years on and see how they've evolved, and it was worth it again just for the like fun little bits of Matrix upgrades we got to see and all that.
I would have taken that stance if it was better. Like, it's just too bad. I would have been happy with fan service if it was just a halfway competent movie, but it's just too bad to get me over that bar.
Yeah. Agreed.
All right. Well, I think that pretty much we've said what needed to be said about this. And we hope you enjoyed our roundtable. As always, we'd love to know what you thought about it. Leave a comment on the Patreon post or join us in our Discord and we could talk about it there. And see you at the middle of the month with a very, very fun watch along of The Fanatic, the relatively new, the most recent
2019
film directed by Limp Bizkit's Fred Durst and written by Fred Durst, starring John Travolta. And
he also does his own stunts in this movie to his detriment.
I think would you agree that this Matrix is a better movie than The Fanatic? I would say so.
I will say, I'm sorry, I'm being honest. I don't. I think this is my grading method. The Fanatic accomplished what it was trying to do way better than the Matrix 4 did.
Well,
I'm sorry it did. Can you disagree with that? Can you disagree with that?
I don't know.
I think the Matrix 4 was just trying to make money, so I think it probably is very successful in that. I don't think they were going for anything else.
I think The Fanatic is a competent, halfway decent movie, except for John Travolta ruining it. I think this is a bad movie top to bottom.
Well, there
Fair.
you go. We'll be back at the middle of the month